5. We'll read verse 33 one time, and then we're going to have another passage we'll go to later. This lesson is probably a little bit shorter, which is good because we're starting quite a bit later today. But that's fine. I kind of did that on purpose because I knew this was a little bit shorter of a lesson, not to minimize its importance. So the last two, so I'll put in here, L is loyalty, okay? So loyal, wow, this marker does not work good at an angle. Loyalty. So loyalty is the L in couple. And I thought about putting L and E together, and E is a little bit more, a little longer of a lesson, so I decided not to do that because I didn't want to shortchange either one. So we'll have our last husband-focused lesson next week, guys, and then make sure just come back and just put your hands behind your head, get a stool to put your feet up on, because next we go after the women. I mean, we try to help your wives. So you only have to endure a couple more weeks, and it's on to them. Just kidding, of course. So loyalty is what we're going to go through. Just to rehash this a little bit, we're talking about love and respect. The wife most needs love. The husband most needs respect. Not to say that either one doesn't need the opposite as well. But the thing that keeps our marriage on the energizing cycle, which is where we want to be, is to give the love that our wife needs that motivates her to give us the respect that we need, which again motivates us to give the love that she needs. When we get on the crazy cycle is when we act without love towards our wife, which causes her to react without respect, which again causes us to react without love. And it keeps us spinning on a cycle that he has deemed the crazy cycle. We obviously want to be on the energizing cycle. We want to motivate our spouse to love and to respect the way that God planned and the way that God has it set up. So that's our goal. That's where we want to be. And it's real easy to find ourselves on the crazy cycle. You might have been on the crazy cycle for a spin or two even this week. Who knows? It's a possibility. And it's not something you're ever going to get away from 100% because we're sinful. We're humans. And we make mistakes. And so we can be on the crazy cycle, and that's just part of life, right? That's just where life takes us sometimes. And the goal is when that happens to recognize it. To say, okay, this is where we are, let's get off. Let's not speed it up, but let's stop it. Let's change what we're doing and how we're responding and get off and get on the energizing cycle. So if we've gone through for the husband, the things that spell love and show love to your wife, he's put down an acronym that spells out couple, and they're all very closely related, right? They all are similar in so many ways, but that's being the closeness. Your wife wants to be close to you. She wants you to be open. She wants you to be transparent with her. She wants you to be understanding, right? To try to understand her. And all these things are biblical things as well. There's peacemaking, wanting to rectify a situation, not let a conflict go on. And then today, loyalty. And he used loyalty for the L because he needed an L. But really, it's what we're going to talk about is it's assurance. It's assurance of your love for her. And he's deemed that as loyalty. So Ephesians 5:33, again, just as a reminder where all this is based off of. Nevertheless, let every one of you in particular so love his wife, even as himself, and the wife see that she reverence her husband. And again, those commands, the command to the husband and the command to the wife, that should be enough for us, right? It's biblical. It's God's word telling us as wives or as husbands to love our wives like we love ourselves, and as wives to reverence your husband. These are commands. So that right there should be like, okay, enough. He's broke it down to make it applicable to our lives and our everyday situations and things that are more, detailed than just love your wife or respect your husband. How do we do those things? So loyalty, reassurance. So I don't know. I showed my wife this last night. Before she got sick, so maybe this did it. I don't know, maybe she doesn't want to be here. Things are starting to come together. No. So I wrote these things down, and I showed it to her, and she started laughing immediately. She's like, is this about me? Like, are you trying to get me? I'm like, well, no. Like, he says this in his book. He's never met you. I mean, that's just the way it is. That's just the way it is. I go, I'm guessing if you feel that way, then that's probably how most wives will feel at some point. But your wife needs assurance of your love, guys, right? So when she comes and says, do you love me? Has your wife ever asked you that? Since you've been married, whether it's years or months, And she just, at random times, it seems, sometimes, that it'll just be like, do you even love me? Right? And as a husband, you're just like, okay, how to proceed? Right? How do I answer? Of course, the answer is yes. Right? That, of course, is the answer. But answering just yes, that's not enough, right? And sometimes, though, even with the question is, do you even love me, or do you love me? It may have a comma there, not a question mark, and then continue and be like, when I get old and gray and wrinkly, and I'm not everything I was on our wedding day, will you still love me? And he'd be like, of course I still do. Just kidding. Don't do. Just kidding. Yes, I will in the future, way away from where we are today. What if I get Alzheimer's? What if I forget? What if I'm no longer capable of taking care of you? What if I get hurt and I'm no longer able to be who I am? Will you still love me then? Right? And as a husband, you're like, okay, I'm being set up for a trap. It's a trap. Right? I'm being set up for something. I'm going to walk right into it. And no, that's not the case, right? Wives need to know on a daily basis that their husbands love them. Now, you'll be like, I said I loved you. I said till death do us part at the altar. And our marriage vows, obviously I love you. I told you that. That time, you should be good going forward, right? I still am here. We're still together. We still do all this. Of course I love you. And for a husband, that may be the case, and obviously it's a little exaggerated. Hopefully you tell your wife you love her more than just when you got married. But she needs that assurance, right? She needs to know, yes, of course, I love you and I'll love you forever. That will never change no matter what happens physically, mentally. No matter what happens, that love will never go away. And she needs to know that. Usually the next question after that is, well, what about me do you love? Right? Now now your brain is real. Okay, what am I going to talk about? Well, you're real pretty. I love that about you. Your hair is nice, and your eyes are pretty too. It's just really good. Right? And although those things are true, she wants to hear that. And in situations like this where this conversation is happening, questions come up, she wants more than just, you have nice hair. Right? Because what if she doesn't have nice hair that day? Right? Not that my wife never has a bad hair day, obviously. But what if there's a bad hair day and she knows she doesn't have good hair? Well, you can't say your hair's pretty. Right? So what is it that how can you assure her that you love her? And so Lisa and I have this thing where, and I'll be transparent with you, and maybe you feel this way, maybe we're the only ones, and then I'll just feel silly, but that's okay. It's a risk-reward thing here. So when you live your life, right, as a wife and as a husband, but we're focusing here for the wives. When you're a wife, you're the wife, right? You take care of your husband, and if you're a mom, and you take care of how many ever kids you got, and that takes effort. If you work a job, then you also work a job, and then you come to church, right, and you serve here, and maybe you help in the nursery, or you do things here at church. You have your friends, right? And if you have friendships, in order to have friendships, you have to be giving, and you have to give of your time and give of yourself. Friendships don't usually work if you're always taking and being the center of attention. So as a wife, you're more than just a wife. As a woman, you're more than just your husband's wife. You have a lot of things that you do in your life. And I may have even mentioned everything, but you're not just a wife. Although if that's all you were, that's a big deal. But we all do extra things. And sometimes as a wife and as a mom, and I'm saying this not because I am one, because my wife has told me this is the case, you may feel like you give and give and give and give and give. You take care of the kids, you give, you're selfless. All the kids, if you have kids and if you've ever worked with kids, they take. That's all they do. They take, they need. It's mommy. Do you ever get tired of hearing mommy? Mommy, mommy, mommy. Like in moments of weakness, I don't know if she'll listen to this. I've heard her say, quit saying my name. Because it's just over and over. And so as a wife, as a woman, you feel like you give. You go to work and you have things that are demanded of you there. Then you come home and your husband expects to be taken care of and respected, right? And you feel like you just give and give and give and give. And then you wonder to your husband, who is the closest human being on this earth, what do you love about me? Why do you love me? Thinking in your mind, all these things I do, all these things I am, do you see that? Do you understand that? And so we've come up with this thing when we have busy weeks or when we're not able to maybe have alone time together as much because we're always here, there, doing this, helping this, being mom, being dad, where we'll have this thing that we'll say to each other, we'll say, I see you. So if she's busy doing all these things and I can tell she's getting wore out, maybe she's not feeling appreciated, I will make sure to say, and I try to notice that she is that and say, just in a moment of quiet and be like, I saw you today. And she knows when I say that I notice the things that she did. And a lot of times I'll list, I saw you do this. I saw you talk to this person. I saw you do this for Gemma. I saw you do this. And just list off the things that she's just doing, right? And it's just life. But as a husband, I'm trying, and I fail at this a lot, but I'm trying to see those things and let her know that I see them and appreciate them. Assure her that she's not just doing it because it's just another day and I have to do it again tomorrow. It's just getting old and it's just tomorrow's repeat, and it just wears you down. I want her to know that as her husband, I saw that and I love her about that. And I'll tell her that I love her and reassure her in those ways. And the main thing, if we look at the energizing cycle, when you treat her that way, when you tell her those things, that energizes her. Right? When your wife knows and is assured of your love and confident of your love, and it motivates her. It motivates her to do the things that she has to do. It makes some of those things not that big of a deal. It helps her to get through her day. It helps her to feel loved and appreciated. Will motivate her to be husbands what you need. Will motivate respect for you because she feels your love. And that just automatically triggers a love for you and a respect for you. And that's where we want to be, to energize her. Now, husbands, that takes effort. You know, the longer you're married, the more you just kind of expect things to be as they are. And it's when she makes supper, it's like, yeah, of course she made supper. That's what she does. Or when she teaches the kids, or when she takes them out for this or that, or when she goes to work and, well, yeah, that's just how it is. That's just what she does. That's just life. Am I going to say I thank you for every little thing that, well, maybe you should? Because your wife needs that reassurance. She needs to be motivated and to feel that assurance of your love. So she wants to draw that out of you. So don't make her try to siphon it from you. Make her, give it to her freely. On purpose, look for ways to reassure her of her love more than just, and this works, I know, you look pretty today. Right? If you don't say that often, start there. Because that'll work good. But then as you continue on with life, see the other things that she does and who she is, not just when she dresses up nice. When she's in her pajamas and has her glasses on because she took her contacts out, you know, you could say you look pretty there too. And she may appreciate that. But if you tell her all the things she did that day and why she's in her pajamas and just done, and tell her you saw those things, that says love. And she'll feel love from you. And that will, my guess is she'll snuggle a little closer on the couch that night. And that's good. That's what you want. That's energizing. So that's where we want to go. So that's one aspect of assuring your love. Second thing is something you can do. We live in a world where the more we progress in sin as a world, we live in a world where there are a lot of things for us to be distracted by as men. I mean, there are specific places you can go. There are things on the internet, but there are things on commercials on TVs. There are billboards. There are lots of people. It's November, beautiful weather outside. There are things as men that we have to be careful about what we look at, what we see, what we think about. And we live in a world where it's put in our face. And it's expected that we will be unfaithful with our eyes and with our thoughts. And it's almost expected, and kind of like the world jokes about it kind of as a, whatever. You want your wife to feel assured in your love. You guard yourself there. You guard your eyes, you guard your heart, you guard your mind from those types of thoughts, those types of images. And make sure your wife knows not that just you love her, but that you desire her and just her. Right? That she is your desire. She is the one. Because the devil will, even if your wife doesn't notice the things you notice, or doesn't see things, or doesn't know that you're seeing things, when you let those things into your mind and into your heart, It changes the way you treat your wife. It changes how you react and how you respond and just how you are. Not on purpose, but when you start bringing some of those things into your mind and into your eyes, it will change the way you view your wife. And it will mess with your relationship with her. So we as men need to guard ourselves, not just for our spiritual growth and our spiritual health, which is true, but also for our relationship with our wife. We need to be careful of what we see and what we do. Job even said, and we know his wife, right? What his wife said to him. But Job, at the end of the book of Job, he says, I made a covenant with mine eyes. Why then should I think upon a maid? He's saying, I've made a choice and decided to keep myself pure for her. And his wife we don't know a lot about his wife other than she's told him to curse God and die. That's not super respectful. So if Lisa ever said, why don't you just die? I'd be like, I feel disrespected by that statement. What have I done that is unloving, right? That's what I would say. So, but even to his wife, Job was saying, I guarded my eyes because of his relationship. He understood the impact of his actions and his thoughts on his spiritual life, but also what it can impact his relationship. So be careful about what you see, what you let into your eyes. It's super easy. I'm not saying you have to go to the worst thing possible you could find. It can be a simple, very innocent thing that is not so innocent if we're not careful. Another thing, never let the D word be spoken, right? Don't talk about divorce, not even in joking, not even in ha-ha. If regardless of where you've come from, where your past is up to this point, you are married to your spouse. Your commitment is to be forever. From now forever, as long as you're alive, that is your commitment. God does not like divorce, right? You go through things, and then he talks about in the Old Testament where he hates it. Moses said he allows it for fornication, and they even approached Jesus on it. And Jesus says, well, yeah, Moses allowed for it, but that's because of you. That was because of your sin, not because that's the way God wanted it from the beginning. If you go to Malachi, if you want to turn there real quick, Malachi chapter 2. So this is another aspect of how you can reassure your wife. Because if you bring up divorce or joke about it, or it's a threat even, which I don't think we'd ever get to that point, but if it becomes a threat, that's not assurance. You do not assure your wife of your love when that becomes a comment or a discussion you have. Malachi chapter 2, verse 14, we pick up in the middle of the conversation, says, Yet ye say, Wherefore? Because the Lord hath been witness between thee and the wife of thy youth, against whom thou hast dealt treacherously. Yet is she thy companion and the wife of thy covenant. And did not he make one? Yet had he the residue of the Spirit, and wherefore one? That he might seek a godly seed. Therefore take heed to your spirit, and let none deal treacherously against the wife of his youth. For the Lord, the God of Israel, saith that he hateth putting away. That he hateth putting away. For one covereth violence with his garment, saith the Lord of hosts. Therefore take heed to your spirit, that you deal not treacherously. And, we look at that and we say, wow, that's some pretty heavy, harsh language. And I would say none of us as husbands would be like, I'd never deal treacherously with my wife. That's a pretty strong word to deal treacherously. But as he mentions numerous times there, your spirit, husbands, your spirit, how you are and how you treat your wife, you may not be treacherous in the word, but how you treat her. If you treat her, you take her for granted, or even treat her badly, and you treat your spouse badly. I have said mean things to my wife. I have been mean. I have been rude. I have been not the husband I should be. We'll be, 18 years this year? So, that's a lot of time. And there have been times where I've not been the husband I need to be. And God says, be careful of your spirit and how you treat the wife of your youth. God was saying our relationship is not good. God's relationship with these men, he was not okay with them because of how they were treating their wife, because they were dealing treacherously with them. And he even talked about in verse number 16, he hateth putting away. And that's talking about divorcing your spouse. He hates it. Think about that. God hates it. And we live in a world where 50% of Christian marriages end in divorce. 50%. Just look across this room. Imagine half of us just not being married. in a few years, because that's how it goes, and not just in the world, but in people that claim to be Christians. Half of them end up in divorce. Most goodwill husbands, again, will never consider themselves to deal treacherously, but evaluate your spirit in relationship to your wife. Where is your spirit? What are your feelings towards her? Are you annoyed? Do you get angry? Do you feel like she's trying to control you? Do you have these feelings in your spirit towards her that are not lining up with any of the things that we talked about in the acronym couple? Are you open? Are you being understanding? Are you trying to be close? Are you loyal to her as you can be? Are you as loyal to your wife as you can be? Are you as reassuring of your love as you possibly can be? My guess is we could all probably say, no, I can do better. And that's the goal. Again, that's the goal of this lesson series. That's the goal of this class to an extent, is to help us to become better husbands, help us to become better wives, so that we can have the relationship that God planned for us to have as husband and wife. So that we can, again, it says here, produce a godly seed, right? Whether we have kids or not, but to have a family, and when kids come, to have kids that are raised for God, that are a family that points towards Jesus, that wants to be like him, not the world around you. So work on, husbands, building that assurance of your love with her. Make it a habit. Stay on the energizing cycle. A few things you could do that will assure her of your loyalty. And there are many more, but I have a few things. Speak highly of her to others. You want your wife to feel like you love her? Talk to others about how awesome she is in things. And speak highly to her to other people. Get involved in things that are important to her. We all have our own hobbies. I'm not saying you have to go, scrapbook with her, but maybe scrapbook with her. Right? I'm not saying you have to get involved in everything she loves and you're just right there. You're her number two when you're shopping for fabric at Joann's. You're just right there. You're picking out the pattern and she's picking out, not saying it has to be that overboard, but it sure can be. You want her to know she loves you? Get involved in things that she likes. Show her, be interested at least to care about the things that she likes. Watch your eyes, watch your thoughts. Keep your commitments to her. If you make a promise, if you tell her, not just your marriage commitments, obviously keep those, but if you make a promise to her, you tell her you're going to do something, and that could be taking out for a date, that could be fixing something in the house, that can be doing something in the yard. If you say you're going to do it, do it. She will see that as love, and she may not even understand it that way, but if you do what you say you're going to do, even if it's as simple as fixing something or doing something around the house, she will appreciate that as love. And then the biggest one probably that we can fail to do, going back to what we first started as being busy every day and being who we are and all the things that we do, make your marriage and her a priority. As husbands, we get busy. Work becomes our priority. We are made to work, right? That's what God made us to do. And if we're not careful, we will make that our life. And we will adjust our life for our job. We will do whatever. We will miss things. We will work longer. We will do things because it's our responsibility and we're required to do it. And there really doesn't get any pushback. It just is what it is. But if it comes to a date or if it comes to something with our wife, we will push something away because of something else. And thereby, just by doing that, bring her a rung lower than whatever you chose to do instead. And I have done that, and it's something we do quite easily if we're not careful. And this goes for wives too, not just husbands, but make your spouse and your relationship, your marriage relationship, a priority. God, spouse, kids, work, and everything else. That's how it should go. God should always be number one. Your spouse is always number two. Period. And anytime we subvert that, your wife will see it, and there'll be understanding times where you have to do things like that. But if it's the way things are, your wife will start to see her rung on the ladder drop. And she will feel that. If it's a habit, if it's something we constantly do, then all of a sudden she doesn't feel as loved. She doesn't feel reassured because there's always something else that seems to be a little bit more important than she is. So as a husband, we need to make sure we make our wife and our relationship a priority. All right, I'll finish up. I went late. We have 10 minutes till church starts. I apologize. We'll pray and we'll be dismissed.